Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And as for today, my group will be present on the MIA's bylaws, section 410, section 420, section 510, section 511, section 520. My name is Muhammad Aizat Raimi and here's my group mate Muhammad Zakwan, Nurin Sharina, Nurdiana, Nurul Amirah. And let's begin our presentation. Okay, before we start our presentation, we would like to show a video on the auditor's independence. So you might get a little bit information before we explain more on the MIA's bylaw.
The reason you hire a CPA firm to conduct your audit is because an audit should be done from an independent perspective. A certified public accountant is statutorily required to maintain independence in audits. We can't audit our brother's company, we can't audit a company that we've invested in and therefore have some financial incentive in the results of that audit. We have to maintain independence in form, fact, and appearance. This is something very important to understand as you choose your audit firm and as you interact with the auditor who's working on your audit. We have to have access to the information that we need access to. We have to be able to talk to the people who have an understanding of your controls and your compliance initiatives. The reason this is so important is because when you get that final written report on your audit, it has to be from an authorized and credible resource who has maintained independence throughout.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Diana and I will be presenting section 410 of Bylaw on Professional Ethics, Conduct and Practice of the Malaysian Institute of Accountants MIA, the FIS. First thing we'll be discussing on the introduction, which start from section 410.1 to 410.2. Section 410.1 stated that the firm are required to comply with the fundamental principles, be independent and apply the conceptual framework set out in section 120 to identify, evaluate and address threat to independence. As for section 410.2, the nature and level of fees or other types of remuneration might create a self-interest or intimidation threat. Thus, this section set out specific requirement and application material relevant to apply the conceptual framework in such circumstances. Next will be the relative size of fees that cover from section 410.3 to 410.6. Section 410.3 is when the total fees generated from an audit client represents a large proportion of the total fees of the firm. The dependence on the client and concern about losing the client create a self-interest or intimidation threat. So, an action to a safeguard from the threat is by increasing the client base in the firm to reduce dependence on the audit client or having a reviewer who did not take part in the audit engagement to review the work. After that, section 410.4 discussing about when an audit client is a public interest entity and for 2 consecutive years, the total fees represent more than 50% of the total fees received by the firm shall disclose to governance and take a safeguard step by applying post-issuance review. Besides, section 410.5 said that when the total fees exceed 50%, the firm determined the threat with post-issuance review would not reduce the threat, so the firm shall have a pre-issuance review performed. Lastly, for section 410.6 stated that the fees continue to exceed 50%, the firm shall disclose and discuss with governors and apply post-issuance review. For fees overdue, it consists of section 410.7 to 410.8. Section 410.7 discussing about self-interest threat created if fees is not paid before the audit report for the following year. Safeguard action to avoid self-interest threat include obtaining partial payment of overdue fees and having a reviewer who did not take part in the audit engagement review the work. As for section 410.8 is about when fees due remain unpaid for a long time, the firm shall determine whether the overdue fees might be equivalent to a loan to the client and whether it is appropriate for the firm to be reappointed or continue the audit engagement. Last part of section 410 is contingent fee that consists of section 410.9 to 410.12. Section 410.9 is about definition of contingent fees. Contingent fees are fees calculated on a predetermined basis relating the result of the service performed. A contingent fees charged through an intermediary is an example of an indirect contingent fees. In this section, if fee is not regarded as being contingent if established by a court or other public authority, while Section 410.10 stated that a firm shall not charge directly or indirectly a contingent fee for an audit engagement. Next section is Section 410.11 that said a firm shall not charge directly or indirectly a contingent fees for a non-assurance service provided to an audit client. If the fee is charged by the firm expressing the opinion on the financial statement, or the fee is charged by a network firm that participates in the audit, or whether the outcome of the non-assurance service and the amount of the fees is dependent on the future judgment related to the audit of a material amount in the financial statement. Last part of Section 410, which is Section 410.12, is about when a firm or a network firm entering contingent fees arrangement with an audit client, even if a contingent fees arrangement is not precluded when providing a non-assurance service to an audit client, a self-interest threat might still be created. So, an action that might be safeguarded to address such a self-interest threat include having a reviewer who was not involved in performing the non-assurance service review the work, or obtaining an advance written agreement with the client based on remuneration.
Assalamualaikum to doctor and friends. Okay, I'm Muhammad Zakwan from Group 2. We'll continue with the Section 420 under description and designatory letters. Okay. First of all, looking at the accountant as a professional individuals, as an accountant in Malaysia shall use the designation of chartered accountant or licensed accountant or associate member with the designatory letters CAM, LAM or EMM. Okay. In conjunction with mentioned designation must therefore include letters or word to indicate 1. Membership of other professional bodies which were specified in Part 2 of the First Schedule Act. 2. Possession of academic degrees or diplomas of institution of higher learning. 3. Possession of civil or military honours or decorations. Furthermore, on top as per mentioned in the designation as a professional bodies shall be used in precedence to all designatory letters indicating membership of other accountancy bodies. In addition, latest into effect 1 November 2013, effective 1 January 2014, MIA bylaws are issued in pursuant to Section 420(3). Therefore, 1. A member in their firm shall be described his or her firm as a firm of chartered accountants or as firm of licensed accountants. 2. In the area of signing any type of documents in a professional capacity should be in use the designation as mentioned in this section to describe their capability as a member in public practice in the report or documents. In addition, in Section 420.6 and Section 420.7, which were inserted in 22nd of March 2018 and effective on 1st of April 2018, therefore shall also include his or her membership number in the statutory declaration before accountant. Signing the statutory declaration regarding the correctness of financial statement under Section 251(1)(b) of the Companies Act 2016. Second, this statutory declaration must be in acceptable format in accordance in Statutory Declaration Act 1960. Moving along to bylaws on professional ethics, conduct and practice. In Section 520, death of a sole practitioner. Okay. In this case, unless there is an arrangement have been made, it does cause the client to worry the firm inability due to the death of professional accountants to cost to the value of practice may lead to its disaggregation. Okay. The importance for sole practitioner is to protect his or her own interest to interest of client to enter such arrangement as mentioned by section 520.4 of this MIA by law will enable the practice to be carried with a minimum defects in the event of incapacity or death. Okay. Two, as we mentioned in 520.3, such arrangement should be made within 2 years from the date the sole practitionership was set up. Two, should be provide practice to be going constant until the covering time of the practitioner recovers or the representative thinks of to decide to discontinue the operation. Moving on to the section 520.4, A, as mentioned in important of sole practitioner, therefore, first by entering into arrangement with another sole practitioner or with member of the firm. Two, by satisfying the counsel that other adequate provision has been made. Okay. B, all arrangements shall be formalized in writing. C, members who are in practice therefore ensure their executors and family aware in the event of death or incapacity of the arrangement made for the management the practice. Okay. In addition, in section 520.4, this does discuss on the arrangement, reciprocal or otherwise between two practitioners may be inappropriate. In other words, it is good if a sole practitioner enter into arrangement with their member firm. Second, although the practice may be formed arrangement to manage, an arrangement of the sale practice on predetermination basis may be more satisfactory. Lastly, with such work in progress under the respective practice shall therefore relate with procedures, audit, fees and general work in both office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your explanation. Okay, now let's move on to the section 510, which is on the financial interest. Okay, before I dive deeper on the section 510, I would like to show you a conversation between an auditors and the audit client. Okay, let's see it first, and then I will further explain on the section 510. Okay, enjoy. Hello,
Hello.
can I talk to Miss Hidayah?
Okay, yes, speaking. May I know who's on the line?
Hello, Miss Hidayah. My name is Muhammad Aizat. The auditors. You recognize me?
Oh, okay, the auditors.
Okay. For your information, me and my audit team will be audited your company for financial year end 2020, December 2020. So, I have important matters need to talk to you.
I see. Okay, I already received the notification since you already remind me on through email. So, may I know what is this regarding for on the information I need to know?
Actually, as you know, I'm holding quite a huge amount of stocks on your company. So I decide to clear all of the stock. I decide to sell off all of the stock because it is a requirement for an auditors to not have a financial interest in the audit client. So I'm just inform you that I'm going to sell all of the stock.
Okay. May I know what kind of requirements that encourage you or enhance you to sell off all of the stocks?
Actually, I'm referring the MIAs by law. So it is state that an auditors cannot have financial interest in the audit client because it could trigger conflict of interest. So in order to reduce the conflict of interest and other risks, so I'm deciding to clear off my stock in your company. So I just want to tell that I hope it's quite heavy, but it's quite bad for me to let go all of this stock. But I think it is the right thing to do to comply with the law. Okay, that's all. That's all I want to tell you.
Oh, okay. So I understand on that matter to avoid conflict of interest. Okay, that is very insightful. So it's okay, Mr. Isaac.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aizat, and now I am going to explain further about the section 510, which is the financial interest. As for the introduction, the audit firm need to be independent and next need to identify threat to the independence. Auditors that hold financial interest in the client might increase or create self-interest threat. So this section will explain more on the requirement on how to eliminate those threats. Okay, let's move on the requirement and application material. Uh, in this section, it mentioned that financial interest can be direct or indirect. If beneficial owner has control or ability to over the intermediary and investment decision, it is called direct financial interest. So for the indirect is otherwise, is the owner has no control or ability over the intermediaries and the investment decision. It can call it as indirect financial interest. Factor to be considered to inspect level of self-interest threat is role of the auditors that hold the financial interest, whether it is direct financial interest or indirect financial interest, and the materiality of the financial interest itself. This section will explain on the financial interest held by firm, network firm, audit team members, and others. Okay, for the direct financial interest or the indirect financial interest that are material or cannot held by the firm or network firm, audit team members, and individual immediate families, other partners that work for the audit engagement partner immediately families, other partner or managerial staff that provide non-audit service to audit client individual immediately family. So for the number 3 and number 4, there is an exceptional. The identified immediate family members can hold direct or indirect financial interest that is material in the audit client uh, if the receive of financial interest because employment right such as pension or share option plan. And the second requirement is um, dispose and forfeit financial interest when have the right to practice or exercise those financial interests. In this section, it mentioned on the financial interest in an entity controlling an audit client. If the entity has controlling interest in audit client and the client is material to the entity, then the firm, network firm, audit team member, individual immediate family cannot hold direct or indirect financial interest that is material. Okay, in this section, it mentioned on the financial interest in common with audit client. Okay, firstly, the firm and network firm, audit team members, individual immediate families, other partners that work for audit engagement or partners immediate family, other partners or managerial staff that provide non-audit service to audit client individual immediate family, all of them shall not hold financial interest in an entity same as the audit client. So, except the financial interests are immaterial and audit client cannot significantly influence the entity. Entity is the another part, not from the audit firm and not from the audit client. It is the other part. Entity is a other party. So if already has financial interest, if those four parties that I mentioned, firm, audit team members, other partners, and other partners or managerial staff, if already has financial interest, they must dispose those interests or dispose enough interest till it become immaterial.
I will continue with the financial interest received unintentionally. So in here we have two groups. First is interest received by the firm or network firm or audit team member or individual's immediate family. In this case, the financial interest should be disposed immediately, okay, by the audit client. And second case is where the interest received by individual, which is not audit team member, and or individual's immediate family. So in this case, okay, the financial interest should be disposed as soon as possible, but not immediately. And second is if depending on the disposal happen, or we hold the disposal on the financial disposal of the financial interest, okay, if any threat created during that time, okay, the firm should address the threat created accordingly.
Next is financial interest for other circumstances. Okay, in here we have immediate family. So what it means here is the audit team member or individual's immediate family or firm or network who has the financial interest in the audit client, and in which the director or the officer in the audit client has the financial interest in the entity. So this situation might create threat, okay, in the company. So so we have to evaluate this situation, okay, by considering four factors. First is the role of the individual on the audit team, whether the individual is a senior or supervisor who lead the audit team or not. Okay, and second is ownership of the entity is closely or widely held. And number three is the interest allows the investor to control or significantly influence the entity. And number four is the materiality of the financial interest, whether the financial interest can influence the decision making of the company or not. So action might be taken to cater this problem is to remove the audit member and to have a proper audit review on the audit work. Next is a close family under other circumstances. So in this case, the audit team member knows that a close family member has direct financial interest or material indirect financial interest in the audit client. So this situation also might create a self-interest threat. So in order to evaluate this situation, there are three factors to be considered. First is the nature of the relationship between the audit team members and the close family members in the audit client. And second is the financial interest is direct or indirect. And the third one is the materiality of the financial interest to the close family member. So action might be taken to cater this problem. First is this to dispose the financial interest, and second is to remove the audit team member from the audit team, and third is to have a right person to review the audit working. And next is financial interest, other circumstances for other individuals. Okay, in this situation, the audit team member knows that the financial interest in the audit client is held by partners and professional employees, and whoever listed under para R510.4, which they are not permitted to hold an interest in the audit client. So, and the individual has also has the personal relationship with the audit team member. So this situation might create a self-interest threat. So there are factors to evaluate this threat. First is the reporting structure of the firm. Okay, who report to whom? It should be a different person and independent person. And second is the nature of the relationship between the individual and the audit team member, whether they are friends or close friend or close family member. So this might create the self-interest. Action to be taken to cater this problem is to remove the audit team member. Second is to exclude the audit team member from the statement decision making, and third is to have a proper audit work reviewer.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nuri Sharina, and then I will continue for the section 511, which is loans and guarantees. There are seven subs of 511 section, which is first 511.1. The firms they need to comply with the fundamental principles, and they need to apply as set out in the section 120. For the section 120, which is its a requirement and application of materials that include the conceptual framework. The function is to assist the accountants to comply with the fundamental principle and meeting their responsibilities. So and then the purpose for the to track the threat, which is to identify the threats to compliance with the fundamental principle, and then to evaluate the threats, and then address the threats, which is by eliminate or reduce to an acceptable level. So 511.2, the loan or guarantee with audit clients, they might create a self-interest threat. The self-interest threat, which is a financial or other interest that will inappropriately influence the professional accountant's judgment or the behavior. So this section does set out specific requirements and application material relevance to apply the conceptual frameworks. And then for the requirements and application materials, which is 511.3 until 511.7. So 511.3, this section that refers to maturity of loans or guarantee, which is to determine the loan or the guarantee itself is material to the individual or not. So how to determine which is the combination of the net worth of the individual itself and their immediate family members. And then for 11.4, the loans and guarantee with an audit clients, which is includes the firms, network firms, audit team, and individuals' immediate family. They shall not make loan or guarantees to an audit client easily. Next is 511.52.6, which is the guarantees, loans and guarantees with audit client, which is bank or similar institutions. So it includes the firms, the network firms, audit teams, and individuals in their family. They shall not accept any guarantee or the loan from the audit client, which is that is bank or other similar institutions, unless the loans is made under normal lending procedure. Uh, However, even they receive the loan and the guarantee, they might be at create the self-interest trade as well. So as the example is the mortgage, bank overdraft, car loans, and credit cards. So to safeguard from this kind of trade, they need to be reviewed by the appropriate reviewer. So of course, they are not from the audit teams and they are not beneficiary of the loan itself. So the appropriate reviewer, they must be have a necessary knowledge, skills, experience, and authority to review the objective manner. As example, the professional accountants. So for 511.6, they shall not have deposits or brokerage accounts with the audit client, which is as example as from bank or broker and other similar institution. And the last one is the loan guarantees with audit client, which is not a bank or similar institution. They also shall not accept loan or borrowing guaranteed by from the audit client, which is that is not from a bank.